Welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, where we share stories about folks that are mistaken for employees by irate customers. And the first story is, entitled Karen Thinks I'm a Janitor. Now, this happened about 7 years ago, and while I did work in the same building, it was not as a custodian. I was about 19 or 20 when I worked in a hospital's food service department as a food service aide, and since the hospital was small, we were the only food option available in the building, aside from a vending machine on the 4th floor. So we had a small cafeteria, and the kitchen were responsible for making food for both the hotline in the cafeteria and the food for patient rooms. We were always understaffed and run ragged all the time. I worked as dishwasher, a cook in the cafeteria, and during lunch and dinner shifts, I delivered food to patient rooms. Now, because I worked in the food service department, I never got mistaken as a custodian, thanks to the different uniforms. My department at the time wore ugly barf green uniform shirts, black uniform pants, hairnets, a stupid black chef hat, and black shoes. They were so bad, many of the girls were mistaken for guys because of how they were made to fit our bodies. Custodians wore a bright blue polo, black pants, and black shoes. Plus, 9 times out of 10, they had either a cleaning cart with them or some kind of cleaning supply. Trust me, this is all important. Now, I was used to getting ordered around by nurses because of diet sheets and having to deal with irate patients because they were getting beef or chicken broth after surgery. It was all a part of being at the bottom of the totem pole. However, patients or their families were most of the time very nice and happy to see us, since we were bringing food. But on this particular day, I was in a pretty foul mood. An entitled nurse was threatening to call my boss if I didn't hand over extra pre-made sandwiches for her and her crew, when she knows we are not allowed to do that. It was late and I was running behind on serving patients their dinner. I was on my 1st floor and was about to go get another food cart to go to the ICU when I felt a harsh tap on my shoulder. Cast, me. K is for Karen and S is for my supervisor. Karen, finally! Do you know how long I've been calling the nurses station for you people? Me, confused. I'm sorry, were you trying to get a hold of food service? Karen, no, I've been calling for you! Do you know how long I've been waiting for you? Back then, I wasn't really very good with people. If anything, I used to run away from conflict. But thanks to this place, I was growing a bit of backbone due to the B nurse staff. And because she caught me in a bad mood, I probably had a WTF do you want look on my face. Me, I'm sorry, how can I help you? Karen, my, insert relative here due to HIPAA, has been waiting for someone to clean their room. I've been paging the nurses station over and over again, but they won't call someone. I would have felt sorry for her had she been a bit nicer to me, since I knew this problem rather well. At the time, the nurses of that floor were entitled and horrible. Many had gotten fired for improper care of patients after I left a couple years later, and thankfully the place is much better now. But back then, this was a common complaint. But since she was being an aide to me, I didn't really feel like BSing her with a fake smile and taking her complaint seriously. She had the aura about her that screamed, "I'm better than you, ha ha," and I personally can't stand that. Me, I'm sorry, I'm sure they called for someone. If you wait, I'm sure. Karen, no, I'm not waiting. Get off your lazy A and do your job. You service the public, so you will listen to what I tell you. Me, realizing what she was talking about. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not a custodian. I'm in food service. Karen, stop making excuses and go clean the room. There's pee everywhere. And while you're at it, get your manager. You suck at your job. Me, ma'am, you need to keep your voice down. I work in food service. I will go get someone from... Karen, shut your mouth. How dare you talk to me like that? I make much more money than you will ever make in your life. That means you serve me. Now do what I tell you. I go back and forth with her for a good 10 minutes, trying to insist that I don't work as a janitor, and this prompts my supervisor to come to the floor. He was wondering why I was taking so long coming back to pick up the cart, and as he comes off the elevator, he sees me with the crazy Karen. I could almost see the urge to turn back and run into the elevator in his eyes, when Karen turns to see him standing there. Karen, are you this guy's manager? I'm a girl, stupid uniform. Supervisor, yeah. How can I help you? Karen, I want him fired. He's lying and saying he won't clean my, insert relative here's, room. Looking confused, supervisor looks to me as if wanting to know what happened. I look at him and mouth silently, help me, she's insane. He then looks to Karen. Supervisor, ma'am, she isn't a custodian. She's delivering food trays to very hungry patients and is not a custodian. Now please, keep your voice down or I will call for security. Karen, how dare you? This man has lied to me and tried to assault me. What the heck kind of place is this? Supervisor, she is a food service aide, who more than likely has to get food for your relative and other patients. The food is getting cold, so please leave her alone to do her actual job. This apparently peeved her off more, as she began to yell in his face, and Supervisor told me to go to the kitchen and ask one of the other aides to finish delivering food. I found out later that she was escorted off the property, and that she was blacklisted by the relative from coming to see them. Turns out she was right outside their room, and they were so embarrassed and angry about her actions that they told the hospital staff to move them to another room and to inform security to keep her from coming back to see them. She didn't take this too well, as the cops were called twice afterwards. The second story is, never snap your fingers at someone to get their attention. This isn't the typical I don't work here lady story, but does technically fit. I consider myself a patient and cool-headed guy, not easily angered or mad even in tense situations. However, I do have one trigger from my childhood that gets me instantly enraged. Living with my abusive aunt, she snapped her fingers every time she wanted you to do something. So, if anyone snaps their fingers to get my or anyone else's attention, I go from a level 1 to 10 in seconds. It's something I'm fully aware of and my friends joke with me on it. Addams Family theme song is my ringtone for when they call. But a few weeks back, I'm at a buy and large that is not my usual store I go to. I'm wearing a business button-up long-sleeve shirt and black slacks. I'm also in sneakers and no tie, just casual nice. I'm passing through the clothing tables in the middle to see if they have anything I like. I first hear the snapping fingers like it's a gunshot. I instantly look over and this large woman is facing away and trying to get the attention of an employee. My rage at hearing the snapping is at an 8, and my eyes are staring daggers at this bee, but she is unaware of my presence. I'm just far enough away that I don't hear their conversation, just bits and pieces that she's trying to find an outfit in her size. It's not likely, given her ample size. The female employee with the headset is politely helping her look through the stacks of clothes, and that's all the interaction I see take place. I calm down enough and go about my business. I know what I want there, and it's to pick up a few select items in the back and freezer section. Roughly 10 to 20 minutes later, I'm trying to find where a particular item is, as it's always been down the same aisle in every store. I look for an employee and find the same female with the headset walking toward the employees section in the back. I politely ask her where said item is or not sold at that store. She's as perplexed as I am, as it's not her area. She radios into her headset and someone in the back goes to check on a computer. While we're waiting, I inquire about the lady who snapped her fingers at her. The female employee is cool about it and shrugs it off like it's all part of the job. Smiling even, saying that it's a fairly common occurrence. WTF? The person on the radio informs us that said item is on a different aisle up front, so the two of us walk there. I leave my cart off to the side of new aisle, out of the way of traffic. We chit-chat about the item and why it's so good. Maybe 10 to 15 seconds of dialogue, when I hear a female voice loudly shout, "There you are! I still need your help," and you go walk off. She then snaps her fingers and points down as if she's to heal by her side. I'm instantly enraged to 10. She wasn't even talking to me, but that didn't matter. I lock eyes onto hers and make a beeline over to where she stood. Don't do this. I snap my finger inches from her face 3 times. Each time, she winces back with bug eyes and an open mouth gape. The female employee was quick on the take and intervened before I could go off on an epic rant I had rolling around in my head since I first saw her do that. The woman could only sputter nonsense like I had slapped her, never taking her eyes from mine for fear I would attack her or something. There were quite a few people gawking at the spectacle, and several more employees intervened. When the GM came, the fat bee instantly put on the waterworks and started hysterically recalling what happened. I was peeved off but in full control of myself and thinking clearly. I was far enough away, standing still, breathing slowly, while she was freaking out at the gall that someone would attack her like that. Her mistake was when she said through blubbering lips, "I want that man fired. He attacked me. Everyone saw it." The puzzled look on everyone's face was evident. The GM, the female employee, the others who came in later. "Ma'am, who are you talking about?" I chimed in with a cool and calm voice. "The rude one here believes I work here, so instead of firing me, I quit, boss." Didn't get the laugh I was intending, but it did defuse the tension like a charm. The woman yelled back, "You do too work here. I saw you talking with her," pointing to the female employee next to me. The GM looked at me. I looked back and calmly said, "Yes, as a customer. I asked your wonderful employee here where the..." pointing to the item that moments ago was requested over the headset. Item was, and here it is. The woman goes into another hysterical fit, garbled, frustrated noises, none of which are English. GM pulls her aside to calm her down, and I go back to my cart with an employee escort. I purchase my items and stand in the receipt checking line. I look around and see the bee walking with the GM towards the manager's office. I snap my fingers to get her attention, but only the GM looks over with a bit of a scowl. I head out of the store intending never to come back. Not that exciting of an ending, but I did ruin her day, and that's plenty of satisfaction for me. I called the store later that evening to get any additional information and to apologize for my part in the fiasco. The new manager on duty was made aware of the situation, but didn't know many details. He thanked me for my apology and would relate to the GM when they talked next. I asked if she received compensation for her troubles. He assured me she didn't. I don't regret what I did, nor will I apologize to her for it. If she doesn't know that snapping your fingers to get someone's attention is rude and degrading, she deserved the aftermath if someone does it to her in return. The third story is, I'm working, but I don't work here. This isn't really a dramatic story or anything, kinda boring, but I figured I'd share. So I work for a food delivery service where people place orders on an app, and I accept the order, pick up the food from the restaurant, and deliver it to the customer. This job doesn't have a uniform, so I was just wearing a hoodie. A World of Warcraft hoodie to be specific, and jeans. I go into a sit-down restaurant to pick up an order. I don't remember what the uniform for the restaurant is, and walk up to the podium where the host stands to seat customers. I tell them who I am and the name the order is under, and they walk back to the kitchen to check on the status of the order. I'm waiting at the podium, looking at the details of the order on my phone, and holding a bag in my hand that keeps the food warm until it's delivered. A family gets up from their table and starts walking toward the door, when the mom comes over to me and says, "Excuse me," and I turn around. "Lady, I just wanted to let you know that someone really needs to go check the bathrooms." My first thought is, why is she telling me this? Is she warning me against using the restroom? Then it occurred to me that she thought I worked there. I've read this sub before and thought, wow, it finally happened to me. I mean, technically I am working, but I don't work here and don't look like I do at all. I'm just waiting at the podium like every other customer who comes into the restaurant. My second thought is, please don't be a Karen. Since I am technically working, I could get in trouble if I end up having to tell off a Karen. Though it wouldn't really upset me that much to lose this job, since it isn't my only job and doesn't really bring in much money. If I had to lose it to tell off a Karen, it would be well worth it, but I wouldn't want to give a Karen the satisfaction of knowing she got me fired, even if it was from a crappy side job. The woman rambled on and on about how the bathroom was filthy, a toilet was clogged and overflowing, it was disgusting, etc. Suddenly, after almost a full minute of rambling, she took a good look at me up and down and stopped talking. "Lady, you don't work here, do you?" I just kinda awkwardly smile and repeat back, "I don't work here." I probably should have interrupted her to tell her sooner. "Lady, oh, I just assumed because you were standing at the podium. I didn't even look at your clothes, I'm sorry. I'll find someone who works here and let them know." Me, "It's okay." Yeah, someone definitely needs to address that. She walked away and about a minute later the host comes back with my order and I take off. The lady was nice even when she did think that I worked there, so thankfully not a Karen. But it finally happened to me, uneventful as it was, so I wanted to share the story. The last story is, apparently my scrub screamed grocery store employee. I'll keep this brief. I'm an ER nurse and tonight I was grabbing some quick food before my shift at the corner market across the street from the hospital. I was wearing navy blue scrubs, with the name of the aforementioned hospital embroidered into the left chest, and a name badge with a big RN on it. I also had my stethoscope sticking out of the cargo pocket, some trauma shears hanging from my belt, and was hurrying to make it to my shift. A normal-looking, well-kempt enough man blocked my path and asked, "Do you guys sell chicken?" I said, I'm a nurse." He said, "Oh," stared at me like his brain was restarting, and then walked out of the store without buying anything. Thanks for listening. Have a nice day.